Yeah, I like this is the alfresco area. They won't be happy at all. They're very tolerant customers, these ones. It's very good of them.
I did a mobile office here and that got me in trouble.
We were joking that we're meeting Jackie Jarvis halfway between here and Margaret River, so we had to hold it in Dawesville.
And what's easier, making coffee or running the state?
Oh, well, that was, yeah. I'm not a milky coffee drinker, right? So that was a little confronting. It's not part of my my comfort zone.
Although he does support the dairy industry.
I do support the dairy interest. Yes. Okay. Good to go? Thank you very much, everyone. Look, it's great to be down here at the Leprechaun Cafe in Dawesville. We would like to thank Tricia and her team for having us here today. And of course, we're here with local member and WA Labor candidate for Dawesville, Lisa Munday. Lisa, as you know, yesterday was on hand to assist a polling booth official who got into a bit of a spot of bother yesterday. Lisa's a paramedic. She's dedicated her life to saving people's lives, and that's what she did before she became a member of Parliament. So some of those skills came in handy yesterday, and it's great to be joined also by Jackie Jarvis, the Minister for Agriculture and Small Business. And as you know, small business is the lifeblood of our economy. 97% of Western Australian businesses qualify for the description small business. They employ literally hundreds and thousands of Western Australians, making sure that everyone has a great opportunity to work, to develop their skills and to benefit from Western Australia's great economy. So today we're announcing a really important announcement. It's a $10,000 grant. Under WA Labor, We'll roll out $10,000 grants for small businesses to boost their business and support WA's economy. Our small business growth grants are about providing small businesses with a little bit of extra cash to make sure that they can undertake the sort of business development strategies that they need to continue to grow their businesses. So, for instance, big businesses, they can set money aside and can undertake growth strategies, cybersecurity initiatives, and other marketing and other those sort of things. Small businesses tend to work on a day-to-day basis and don't have that extra element, that extra piece of resources that they can use to give their business an extra boost. So we'll be offering these $10,000 grants, and they'll be able to go to things such as digital marketing, cybersecurity, responding to tenders, or expanding into export markets. For a place like this at the Leprechaun Cafe, Tricia might, for instance, need some resources so that she can develop an app, so her local customers can order their coffees online before they come here to pick them up, so they don't have to wait as long. Now, those sort of resources don't come easily to a small business. So these $10,000 grants will be a great way to. Okay, that is unusual.
Hi, bud. I'm sorry, can you move, please? Hi, can I give you a go?
It's a willy wagtail. Do not pick a fight. Okay. Welcome to Dawesville. These $10,000 grants will provide these businesses with an opportunity to undertake specific business development strategies. As I said, things such as digital marketing, cybersecurity, making sure that they can have the resources they need to help their businesses grow. And we'll be encouraging, under the guidelines for these grants, for those businesses to engage with other WA small businesses as part of that project. So this will not only benefit the small businesses that are the recipients of the grants, but this funding will go back into the economy to make sure other businesses in the area also benefit from these grants. WA Labor is the party of small business. We know that the Liberals and Nationals, if they had their way, would be forcing WA small business owners to work 7 days a week, compete in the open market with big businesses such as Coles and Woolworths, and they wouldn't have the advantage of the size that those other businesses have. And we're backed our small business every other step of the way. And that includes, we've delivered more than $4,000 of power bill credits to small businesses during our time in office. And through our small business growth grants, we'll unlock the full potential of local businesses here in WA. what we WA has the strongest economy in the nation, and small businesses contribute more than $50 billion to our economy each and every year. So we want to continue to make sure we grow our small and medium-sized business sectors, making sure that the business owners that are backing themselves, investing in their companies, have the support they need and the backing of their WA Labor government. The Liberals have no economic plan, and they're just not up to the job of managing the economy. So companies like Trisha's here at the Leprechaun Cafe would certainly be forced to defend for themselves, not have the backing of a government that believes in what they do, believes in the jobs that they create, and believes in the important role that they play in our economy. I now hand you over to Small Business Minister Jackie Jarvis.
Thanks, Premier. Small businesses are the heart and soul of our towns and our suburbs, and I am thrilled to be able to announce these grants of up to $10,000 today to support small businesses to get those extra skills and those extra services they need. As someone who's owned and operated small businesses in the past, I know how busy small business owners are. I know that small business owners have a vast range of skills, but sometimes they need extra help, whether that's to do a new marketing plan or to increase their digital capability or to perhaps do a tender for a government contract. This support will help them. The other thing we know about these grants programs is that it's about business helping business. So if a small business like Leprechaun Cafe wanted help with graphic design skills or to build an app, they can actually then contract another small business in Western Australia to provide that service. These grants are going to be a real game changer for lots of small businesses. Small businesses owners, have to be jack of all trades, but this is a little boost they need. We already significantly support small business in Western Australia through the Small Business Development Corporation that offers a vast array of free and low-cost services. I was just going to join you, Jackie. Yeah. The Small Business Development Corporation already offers a vast array. The Small Business Development Corporation already offers a vast array of services that are free and low cost for small businesses owners, and we deliver that also in regional WA through SBDC Regional. So small business owners can get the advice they need, and then when they understand that they might need a marketing plan or a business plan or some specialist financial advice or a new website or some help to do a tender, they can actually then access these grants. So it's a fantastic win-win for small businesses across Western Australia. Thank you.
What's the total cost of the package, and what's the maximum number of small businesses that could benefit from the scheme?
So look, it's up to $10,000. So some small businesses won't need to apply for that much. They might apply for less than that. The preliminary amount is $1.3 million, but it is certainly a first iteration of this program. This is built on a successful program we did with food and beverage grants that's run over the last 4 years, and we saw the success in the food and beverage sector where these small food producers were able to access these grants. So what we're doing now is we're rolling it out to small business, and we will see what response we get, and then we can take it from there.
And they have to put forward a business case for what they're applying for. Is that how it works?
So it'll be through the Small Business Development Corporation, who are very experienced at giving out small grants to small businesses, and there will be a grants process designed, but it will be simple. I mean, we don't want to tie businesses up in paperwork. We certainly don't want to have businesses having to, get specialist grant writers to apply for a small grant. As I said, we've successfully rolled this out to food and beverage businesses over the last 4 years, and the Small Business Development Corporation are well placed to make sure that they make this as simple as possible for small business people.
Just on another issue, are you noticing in regional WA a lot of backlash against Labor on guns, on live exports, on the Aboriginal Cultural Heritage Act? Are you finding that there's more hostility than, say, in the city?
Look, I've been on regional polling booths and out campaigning. Been on polling booths the last 3 days. I've been out campaigning in the regions for years now. I am certainly not getting that pushback. What I have got pushback in the last 24 hours is on the Nationals plan to actually divert royalties for regions money to the Perth metropolitan area. I certainly heard that on the booth yesterday, that people, quite frankly, feel a bit betrayed that royalties for regions, I mean, I think the hint is in the name, would be diverted to metropolitan Perth.
You oppose the live exports ban, but are you feeling that people are conflating state and federal Labor, and is there backlash in places like Warren Blackwood, other regional areas?
Look, I think people understand the difference between state and federal Labor. They understand our policy position. I don't think a week went by in Parliament where I didn't restate my support, where the Premier didn't restate his support for the live sheep industry. I'm certainly not hearing it on the doors as I've been door knocking as I have been for many months.
Great.
Reckon a place?
Yeah, it's interesting. Today we're in Dawesville, which under Royalties for Regions would qualify for support because it's part of the Peel region. Under the proposals that the Metro Nats put forward yesterday, this area would be cut from the Royalties for Regions program, so they could divert those monies to the metropolitan area. You know, the Nationals have turned their back on regional WA by making sure that the metropolitan area is a much bigger focus for them. But yesterday they stabbed regional WA in the back by saying that they will wreck the Royalties for Regions program and tear dollars out of these communities, out of communities right across regional WA, so that they can bankroll their campaign to run for a metropolitan seat in metropolitan Perth. Quite frankly, I was disgusted by it. It's one of, you know, it was one of the most audacious, disrespectful, contemptuous acts by a political party that I've seen in a long time. You know, the Nationals said that they're a party of the regions. Yesterday, they stabbed the regions in the back.
Isn't it fair to say, you know, some parts of the hills are pretty bushy, whereas Mandurah is more like a southern suburb of Perth, and it should be looked at? So
their proposal is that they cut this regional community out of Royalties for Regions and divert those dollars to Gosnells. Gosnells is 20 kilometres from the CBD. Now, I don't know about what your definition of regional WA is, but I'm not sure that passes the pub test. We know, though, that this is simply an exercise by the Nats to take a pot of cash that they consider their own, not regional WA's. They think it belongs to them, and they want to put it into the campaign to get a national elected in metropolitan Perth. And they demonstrated this when they were in government. They took Royalties for Regions and used that cash for their own political purposes. And they were caught out yesterday. It is there on display for everyone to see that they simply regard Royalties for Regions as their political cash slush fund that they want to use wherever they like. Yesterday, they stabbed regional WA in the back.
We're only 2 months into the year and we've seen 2 months in a row of record ambulance ramping. What's going on and what's the plan?
Well, we continue to see our hospital system under extraordinary levels of demand. That's for a range of reasons. West Australia's population continues to grow. We continue to see bulk billing rates through the floor. Not enough GPs are bulk billing. A lot of people are saying, I can't afford to see my GP. I'm going to go to the local hospital, which means our EDs are very crowded. But our doctors and nurses working on the front line are doing a good job to make sure that everyone is seen within an clinically appropriate period of time. Now, our hospital system's under increasing demands all the time. That's one of the reasons why we've had a record $14 billion of extra money go into our health system since we've been in government. And in the last 4 years alone, we've increased the number of beds by 800. We've increased the number of workforce by 30%. 4,400 new nurses, 1,800 new doctors. And as you've seen in this election campaign, we've announced a significant body of policies with regards to a massive expansion of our healthcare system. Let me go through them with you. Already you see the Bunbury Hospital being rebuilt at a cost of $450 million. Geraldton Hospital rebuilt at $188 million, doubling the number of inpatient beds at Albany Hospital with another $60 million investment. $100 million to upgrade the ED at Royal Perth Hospital, $100 million to rebuild the ED at Midland Hospital. And of course, you've seen the significant funding that we'll provide for aged care providers, which means we have an extra 500 aged care beds. One of the key challenges in our hospital system is the fact that we don't get good patient flow. That is, we have older patients sitting in beds when they really need to be in an aged care environment. So that investment is actually going to have a significant impact on people's ability to enter the hospital as a patient through our EDs.
Was it right that the minister refused to comment yesterday on ambulance ramping and on the death that occurred as a result of a delayed ambulance response?
Well, I was very pleased to make extensive comments in my press conference yesterday with regards to this particular incident. And Minister Amber-Jade Sanderson is one of the hardest workers in my cabinet. She works day in, day out, and yesterday she was deeply embedded in her community. We'll continue to make sure that we get answers for anyone who believes that they've had an adverse clinical outcome in our healthcare system. That's what public health is about, being transparent, being accountable. And we commit to do that for anyone that feels that they haven't received the best service they could get.
She's the minister responsible, though. She's capable of answering those questions, isn't she?
I'm the CEO, and I answered those questions extensively yesterday at my press conference.
What's out today about Alcoa? Are you risking water supply by allowing them to mine in more high-risk areas?
We certainly are conscious of our legal obligations under the Alcoa state agreement. We're also absolutely hold as our highest priority the quality of drinking water in the Perth area, in terms of Alcoa's activities in any part which might impact that catchment. That's one of the reasons why we've done significant amount of work with Alcoa and with our stakeholders to make sure that we put Alcoa under a more stringent and more contemporary environmental regulatory regime. This will bring Alcoa from the days before we came into government, from an ageing regime, to one now where we hold them up to the most stringent conditions and standards in terms of their conduct as a miner.
Have you done a proper assessment, though, to weigh up those risks?
Yes.
Water supply against their operation?
Yeah, we have, and that's one of the reasons why we've put so much oversight into that today. We have extra people on the ground to make sure that when they are undertaking mining activities in those riskier areas, that every precaution is taken to ensure that they don't represent an unnecessary or a significant risk to our drinking water catchment. And we'll continue to stay on their back. This is important. We know that Alcoa employ literally thousands of Western Australians. The work they do is very important, not only to those West Aussies that work for them, but to the WA economy. But we're going to protect our environment by stringent, contemporary and very strong oversight.
Have you read the preliminary ATSB reports, and if so, what's your reaction?
Yeah, no, I haven't. I haven't seen it yet. I was in the car on the way down here. I was given a briefing in relation to some of the characteristics of that report. And look, this is a tragic event, right? Flight crew, passengers lost their lives in a very confronting and very public circumstances. I'm looking forward to reading the ATSB report, and if there's any learnings that we can take from that, we'll certainly wholeheartedly get behind them.
Are you expecting to receive a more detailed briefing on that?
I assume so, yes, Jake. As I said, I haven't read it yet. My understanding is that the report characterised it as potentially pilot error, but please let me get my head around it. I'm happy to answer any questions later.
This morning at a leadership breakfast, Libby Nedham was asked what she admired about you.
Oh, okay.
She said she says you're a decent person. She's heard you're good at jogging and thinks you'd be fantastic in opposition. Same question to you.
Yeah.
What do you admire about Libby Nedham?
Well, I think she's a hard worker, and I enjoy working with her on those issues that we can work together on. And look, I think she's really good in opposition too, and I'd like to see her really lean heavily into that role over the next 4 years. Touche.
Premier, just back to Alcoa. Will the
Yep.
government fund the Water Corporation to undertake expensive capital works required to prepare the water supply for the contamination of the dam, or will it take the risk and see what happens?
No, look, we're working closely with Water Corp in terms of their concerns for the water catchment, and working closely with Water Corp around any need that they might have to mitigate any risks that they consider unacceptable. And whatever it takes, we'll make sure that we protect Perth water supply. That is a key objective in relation to all these things.
Will you consider tightening restrictions on Alcoa for 2028?
Well, we already have. We've already actually significantly tightened the regime under which they work, making sure that what they're doing there is not it meets industry best practice, both in terms of mining activity, but also in terms of environmental oversight. We are working very closely with Alcoa. They understand our concerns, and we will work closely with them and all stakeholders to ensure that it doesn't represent an unacceptable risk to WA's water supply.
Do you think you've been honest with the public about the increased risks to water supply now?
I think we are. I mean, we've made it very clear to them very clear to the public, that as Alcoa gets to towards the end of their mining activity, they will need to have a blend of bauxite which makes sense for them, their refineries and their customers, and that necessarily requires them mining in different parts of the southwest forests. So we're going to have to make sure that we put them under the most stringent conditions and guidelines to ensure that it doesn't represent an unacceptable risk.
Libby also said, at the breakfast this
Sure.
morning, she put up a photo of a premature baby that had to be rushed from King Eddie's to PCH, and doctors have told her that it would have died if it had to go all the way to Murdoch. What's your response?
Oh, well, look, I don't know if that's the case. Quite frankly, that's a claim by a political opponent at the back end of a political campaign. So I'm not going to speak to the veracity of that claim. But the Minister for Health and I have talked extensively about how relocating the Women's and Babies Hospital to Murdoch is the only sensible approach to developing a significant piece of health infrastructure. And from that perspective, we've been advised by the Department of Health, senior clinicians, and array of people that any risks associated with moving the child, whether it's 2 kilometres or 50 metres inside a hospital itself, can be mitigated. And at the end of the day, the Independent Infrastructure WA organisation reviewed the decisions around the Women's and Newborns Hospital and said that developing that hospital at the QE2 site represented a significant risk both in terms of cost, logistics and timing in particular. Now, King Edward Memorial Hospital is actually over 100 years old. It's one of our oldest hospitals in the system. It's time we acted. We know under the Liberals' plan, they haven't said how they're going to implement their plan, by the way, but under their ideas, they're going to tear up the contract, basically trash any preliminary work that's already been undertaken in relation to the Women and Newborns Hospital, and take Western Australians through a long processes of developing at QE2. So you're not going to see that hospital developed inside a decade. It's time to act. Women of Western Australia and mothers of newborn children have waited long enough for a new tertiary hospital, a women's and newborns hospital. It's time to act, and we know that Murdoch is the best place for that hospital.
She also invoked JFK's moon speech, and she said we do these things not because they're easy, but because they're hard. Is your government taking the easy way out on this project?
Well, she hasn't explained how hard it is. The leader of the Liberal Party has not explained how they would develop the hospital at QE2. We saw when they were in government, when they developed the Perth Children's Hospital at QE2, on the site, by the way, that was originally set aside for the new Women's and Babies Hospital. We saw when they did that, what a hash of a job they did of that. It took me, as Minister for Health, and the new WA Labor government to actually get that hospital open. Their incompetence around their management of that particular project was on display for all to see. So don't risk your vote on the Liberals, and don't believe them when they say things like this, because they haven't done the hard work to work out how they would actually implement their commitment.
She also would not rule out this morning using numbers in the upper house to disallow the gun regulations. What's your response to that?
Well, WA Labor wants to keep the WA community safe. We know that the Nationals will tear up our gun law reforms. We know the Liberals don't support them, though they didn't have the courage at the time to vote against them. Libby and her colleagues scampered out of the chamber when the vote was being taken. Scampered out of the chamber when the vote was being taken. Would not be held to account. And quite frankly, they're a risk to community safety. They criticised our knife laws, or ultimately supported them. They criticised our bikie laws, and they opposed our gun laws. So the Liberals and Nationals are, quite frankly, represent a risk to community safety in WA.
Ms. Bedham also said this morning that Westport's not a priority, but she's not opposed to it. Just wondering your reaction to that.
Well, again, they are demonstrating that they cannot be trusted with WA's economy. We know that the Fremantle port will be at capacity inside around about 15 years. So the time to act in terms of developing a bigger port, Westport, in our opinion, is now. So if it's not her priority, what Libby Mettam is basically saying is the economy's not her priority. WA jobs are not her priority, and she does not have a plan on how she's going to protect WA jobs in Western Australia.
Just over a week to go before West Australia.
9 days, but who's counting?
Before they head to the polls.
Yep.
Have you peaked already? Are we expecting to see Labor tapering off with what they're spending?
No, look, we're going right to the end, right to the tape, and we take nothing for granted in this election. That's why we're trying to make every post a winner. We are the only political party that's come to this election campaign with a comprehensive plan, a plan on how we're going to ensure our regions continues to grow in their economies and their services, how we can continue to keep Western Australia's economy strong. My Made in WA plan is how we are going to bring manufacturing back to the heart of the Western Australian economy, creating great jobs. We've announced significant policies around health, around housing, around education, law and order, and we'll continue to make sure that we provide more policies, more details about our plan for WA over the next 9 days. Let's contrast that with the WA Liberals. They don't have a plan, they're chaotic, they're dysfunctional, and they're fighting each other. And if they're fighting each other, they're not fighting for you. The newest member of the clan, Basil Zemplis, already has indicated that he wants Libby's job. So here we are at a situation where Basil Zemplis has already counted the votes in his head in relation to his election chances, is arrogantly taking the people of Churchlands for granted, and is already trying to line up to take over Libby's job. You know it, I know it, the WA public knows it. And quite frankly, the Liberals are chaotic and dysfunctional and fighting each other.
Why yesterday at your press conference did you not confirm any changes to amendments to recreational fishing? You said you were in conversation with them.
Yeah.
But then earlier in the day, your government sent a letter to fishing families saying that you were in favour of 2 amendments. So why was So let me be really clear on this one. We've been in conversations with all stakeholders in the fishing sector with regards to the laws that were passed by the previous Barnett Liberal National Government. Those laws were a dog. They were unworkable, and I think everyone understood and agreed that the laws in their current form would not take the state forward. They were confusing, they weren't going to serve anyone's interests. So we've been working with industry and recreational fishers and other stakeholders around, okay, so what do we need to do now to make these laws work? And those conversations have been going really well. Now, we were approached by the professional fishing groups who said that they wanted 2 things, or 3 things. They wanted secure access to entitlements and longer period for licences up to 10 years. We actually agreed with that. That wasn't a point of contention. They also said that they wanted mandatory reporting on recreational fishers. Mandatory reporting on recreational fishers. So let me be clear on what that looks like. I go out here onto the Peel Estuary and do a bit of fishing, spotter fishing, pull in a few herring, hopefully, maybe something bigger. I would have to do 3 things. I would have to report that to, I would have to keep a personal record. I would have to report that to the government, and I would have to report that to the professional fishing organisations. Quite frankly, we thought that was absurd, that recreational fishers have to actually undertake a mandatory reporting regime of any catches they take. The Liberals and the Nationals actually supported that. That was their proposal, that recreational fishers would have to mandatorily report their catches, which is ridiculous. And quite frankly, I think everyone in Western Australia would think that someone just doing a spot of fishing, having to undertake 3 pieces of reporting, that was just ludicrous and unworkable. But in good conversations that we've been having with the professional fishing lobby, they've dropped that particular concern, and we welcome that. So now,
we're in full-throated support with the professional fishing lobby with regards to secure access to entitlements and longer period for licences of up to 10 years. And I'm very much looking forward to now working with that industry with regards to the next steps to actually put in place a functional and workable fishing regime.
But why not?
That was a long answer. I'm sorry about that.
Why not highlight that though yesterday? You only
Yeah.
spoke about the reporting. You didn't talk about the entitlements and the licensing. Why did you miss that out?
Yeah, we just had to clarify it ultimately with the industry group. So I was chomping at the bit to try to announce it at my press conference, but we weren't at that point.
Can I just ask Lisa about the early voting incidents, if possible? So I understand you saved someone's life.
I don't know if it was that dramatic. One of the electoral office workers collapsed inside the building and I was called in for the medical emergency. I assisted first aid and we called an ambulance and she was conscious and breathing and talking normally by the time they arrived. So, yeah, it was, yeah.
So you resuscitated?
No, there was no CPR, no resuscitation.
There was a severed artery, a broken leg, and a heart attack.
Yeah. Yes. No CPR, no, nothing that exciting.
So
Yeah.
I suppose you're eager to get back to the
Absolutely.
voting station.
Yes.
Can I ask, as a former paramedic, seeing again record ambulance ramping numbers for February, are the numbers out of control and are you frustrated?
I was a team manager in the ambulance service way back in 2009, 2010. Ramping was around then. We were looking at catastrophic ways of having to drop patients on the floor at Sir Charles Gardner. It's been another 15 years since then. I don't think there's one easy fix. It's a lot of complex and complicated ways of looking at, whereas looking at keeping older people at home, keeping them in nursing homes. I think Minister Sanderson has been doing a fabulous job. But if there was one action to fix ramping, it would have been done by now. It is a very complex effort, and like weather, health, winter, it all has ebbs and flows. So yeah, it's unfortunately it is a complex effort. And it takes a lot of ideas and a lot of work forward to do that.
Thanks very much, everyone. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Libby Benton's really running with your line of the slip up from your debate where you said you put Labor first. She said it 8 times at her press conference. Are you worried that line's going to keep going back to
No, look, the Liberals have got nothing else to talk about. You could ask them about their dodgy candidates, the homophobe, the racist, the misogynist, the ex-One Nation candidate, the dodgy builder, that's their candidate. So they can't talk about their candidates. I've got 2 great members of Parliament behind me. I'm proud to stand next to my members of Parliament. You could ask them about their policies, their economic policies, about their plan for WA. They don't have a plan for WA. They are simply represent a risk to Western Australia. Look, they're chaotic, they're dysfunctional. Quite frankly, they've got the strangest run of candidates I've seen in political history. And of course, we know that Libby's main act, the Basil Zemplis show, is simply the precursor to him wanting to take her job. So, if you're voting for the Liberals, be very clear. You're voting for more chaos, more dysfunction. We know that the Klan, backed by that Basil Zemplis, backed by the Klan, have already got their ideas on replacing Libby as the leader of the Liberal Party. So, quite frankly, to vote for the WA Liberals is basically a risk to the economy, and it's quite frankly the risk to the leadership of Western Australia. Look, we're in globally at the moment in difficult times, right? You see a lot of shifts around the world, and everyone is trying to navigate those difficult waters as part of Western Australia's economic future. We need a steady hand at the wheel. We need experienced leadership, and we need a team that has got the runs on the board. Taken Western Australia from the weakest economy in the nation when we were elected in 2017 to now the strongest in the nation in 2025. And let's look at the unemployment rates in 2017. Youth unemployment, do we pause or just get... Youth unemployment in 2017 was over 15%. Today it's just 4%. So don't risk your vote on the Liberals.
You seem more comfortable in these sort of press conferences than you did on the debate night. Was there something about the TV studio or something that made you a bit nervous?
Oh, look, the format wasn't great for a good political discussion. I think everyone accepts that. And of course, I had to compete with Jeff Parry and Jess Page. And I think both poor old Libby and I were trying to get a word in edgeways, and they were too busy fighting each other and having a go. But no, look, I enjoyed the debate. I do note on social media that I've been accused of using an auto cue on the night. So. If that's the someone's takeaway message, well, it means I must have got some of my language right anyway. Thanks very much, everyone. That was